Hey lovelies, thanks for stopping by. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the brand new palette from Nomad Cosmetics, the Fairy Tale Europe palette. I have been able to play with this one for a good week or so now. I have 3 looks to show you today and all of my thoughts. So before we get into this, I just have to show you the packaging on this palette. Listen. If you are a packaging fan, if you love a good fairy tale moment, you are going to love this palette. Okay, so this palette, now I don't know if you can see, I'll turn it to the side here. Can you see how this has this like lifted, raised castle over the beautiful background? When I first saw this, I thought about pop-up books. Do they even make pop-up books anymore? I don't know, but when I was a kid, I loved a good pop-up book moment. Like, how cool would that have been if there was like a little pop-up in here? There's not, but that would have been super cool. So this was definitely, I think if you are a child of the 80s or like even maybe the early 90s, this sort of has that very like princessy fairy tale vibe of that era, and I thought that it was also very sweet that within this package you also get this cute little fairy tale story that you can read. So very fun, a little story about Celestia, and we are going to dive into this palette. I do also want to make mention that as usual the brand has chosen to support a foundation with the launch of this release. I thought I just said that backwards. The foundation for this palette is the UNESCO World Heritage Center. So very excited to share this one with you. We will again have 3 looks, and let's just take a peek at the color story. So I do have some up close footage for you before I got my grubby paws in here. So, okay, we're talking about the packaging first. I just want to talk about the mirror. But we have mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? And so just all the little touches in here make this very cute, make this a very Nomad Cosmetics experience. Yes, now let's get into the shadows here. So as you are getting to see the up close footage, there is something about this. Now I will say right away when I open this, I definitely think of like 80s childhood fantasy. You know, you've got these bright brights, very colorful. I think just also like seeing kind of like that seafoam teal and the peach and just all of the shine, it definitely brought me back to my childhood. So that being said, I was like, oh great, I'm excited to see some neutral mattes in here. I think I had said with the mention of the last palette when I reviewed that, I was like, I feel like I could use a couple more neutral shades. Now with this palette, we have a rainbow variety of shimmers and all neutral mattes. So I right away was like, this is going to be really interesting to play with. And I will say that the evolution of what I thought about this palette changed a lot. So stick with me through this. Now, the looks are going to be fairly quick, I think. I just did them all pretty early in the morning, and so they're probably either just going to be like with music, or I might end up talking through them. I'm not quite sure how much time I'm going to have to do editing, I will be honest. But regardless, as I played with this, like my thoughts on this palette really evolved. Now what I'm going to say right off the bat, just so that you know, all of the shadows that I did use were of great quality. So I will also say that to me, the texture of the shades are likening very much to the shimmers that I fell in love with the brand of, like America's Parks, like those palettes where it was just beautiful shimmers with like a beautiful soft shimmer with micro tiny flecks of different color. Not like really bold micro sparks like, let's say, in Divina Cosmetics, but like a more subtle but like very little je ne sais quoi kind of like nod to texture. So I really enjoy that. These all worked very beautifully on the eye. I have to say, I feel like Nomad shimmers really have much less fallout than some do, and so I really appreciated that. All right, with that being said, also, you know that I love Nomad's mattes. These all performed beautifully. Did I use every single one? Yes, I think I did. I will say the black I basically just used as like a tight liner on my look today, which by the way, I did do this look from this palette. And so everything performed really great. So that being said, I also have to be honest, there are a few shades in here that I did not touch yet. So when I show you, I'm just going to do some palm swatches of the shimmers so that you can see those. So I will have maybe some first impressions on that. So with all that being said, I am going to quickly just do some palm swatches of the shimmers so that we can kind of talk about them, and then we will go through those looks. Now, as I'm diving into this, I should say that the brand did send this to me in PR. I do have a discount code. It is Keep Beauty Real. It is not affiliated currently, but you can save with that code. So if you do find that this video is helpful, I would love for you to use my code, but just make sure you use a code and save some money. All right, I'm gonna get to swatching. Now, as I am swatching here, by the way, I am just doing this dry. One thing that I did notice is I really feel like these shimmers play very well both wet and dry. When you use them dry, you are going to see a softer result. I mean, this is technically standard with basically every shimmer, but I do find that some shimmers only work great wet and some actually perform better dry, and some can do both. And I did find that in this case, both worked really well. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit with the shimmer that I'm wearing today. So I'm gonna do these in quads. So these four, and then these four, because I think that that's kind of fun. And these first four are just like exactly that like fairy tale princess kind of vibe. I'm gonna turn down the center light just so that you can see. We do have a few multi-chromes in here. I believe the brand says that they consider 3 of these as multi-chromes. I mean, those are very pretty. So this first shade, the one that is closest to my fingers, you can see here how that is that's the shade First Kiss, and it looks much thinner, and it's almost here, it looks like a very sheer pink with micro flecks of it. Actually, it's almost like a purple and a silver. I do think that this is one of those formulas that if you used it wet, you would see more intense color from this. And then we do have that beautiful multi-chrome Snow White. I don't think that there is anything necessarily unique about this multi-chrome, but it does seem very beautifully smooth. And then we have Fairy Godmother and Cinderella. So very pretty shades. Now, one thing that I will make a note of, I did use the shade Fairy Godmother in a look, and it did stain my lids, which a bright pink like that happens a lot. Wasn't a big deal by the next time I washed my face. Like, when I washed it off at night, my lids were stained. When I washed my face again in the morning, pretty much all of it was gone, other than like really close to my lash line. And I'm sure that if I had like used a micellar water or something, I probably could have gotten it off. So just something to note. Let's move into our next set. Oh yeah, I'm definitely finding that these are a bit different dry than wet. I also really don't love, I'm gonna be honest, using finger swatches sometimes, because sometimes you can really like make hard pan. The last shade I'm hoping that I didn't just do that with. At any rate, what we do for swatching. Okay, so Prince Charming, I am going to show you that shade at the top. I believe that's probably one of, yeah, it's definitely one of the multi-chromes. So that's this one here. Now that's what I have on my eyes right now. And you'll see in the look, I'm not gonna zoom in right now, but you'll see in the look that it looks very different when I, first of all, put it over a bit of the dark brown, but also just using it wet made it so much more intense. I swatched it this morning and I was like, yep, this is the one I want to use. That's going to be like light, effervescent, kind of fun. And when I had it on the wet on the brush and I put the first tap down, I was like, oh, wow, okay, we got some serious shimmer here. Love this one. This is hands down my favorite in the palette, I would say. I got 2 ties in this palette, but this is a lovely one. Are you surprised? It's sort of greeny, but it also actually comes up almost like that like old gold kind of shade where it has a bit more gold. Now the shade Belle is more of your like yellow, I mean, very fitting for, you know, like we're talking like Disney Princess Belle, right? So definitely fitting for Belle's dress. The next shade, Wicked Fairy, I did use as a lower lash line shade, and that was absolutely pretty. The shade Sleeping Beauty, this one, again, I've been starting to use purples a bit more and really enjoying them. This one, when it is wet, is a bit more bang for the buck, but this was probably the thinnest, sheerest shade that I used. So I think that to get the full impact out of this one, you do have to put a couple layers down. If I had used a tacky glitter glue, it probably could have intensified it as well, but I did find that I had to work to make sure that I couldn't see any of my eyelid skin. So just a little note there. All right, we are gonna end up with like lots of little like micro sparkle. So here is what I'm talking about. Can you see how my hand just kind of looks like glowy right now? Hopefully you can just kind of see it's a little bit sheeny. Like that is all from that sparkle that's inside of these eyeshadows. So it doesn't look like glitter on the eyelid. It just looks like movement, like light is hitting. Very pretty. All right, our last 4 shades here. All right, so this set of swatches has my other shade that I really fell in love with. I'm really excited to use that one more. So here we have the top shade is Love Story. And again, you can see here, that's another shimmer that I think is gonna be best used wet or with a glitter glue. It's just a bit more thin. The nice thing about that is you can layer it over a matte and get like a really soft look. And so, you know, it sort of can be played in a few different ways. The next shade is Snow Queen. That again is one of these shades that I'm worried that it's gonna hard pan if you use your fingers a lot. The next shade is the one that I am just like dying over. This is Magic, oh, what does it say? Magic Spell. So I'm gonna try to get closer so that you can see here. This shade, oh, it's not showing up as much as I need it to. Oh, it is truly magic. So this is like when it's not in the light, it looks like a charcoal, right? And the cool thing is when it is in the light, you see this like gold, warm tone and also a greenish, sort of like poison shade. You know what I mean? Like that sort of like, yeah, like poison apple. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, ooh, there's something about that. I use this in a look. I cannot wait to do a deep smoky eye with this. It's gonna be absolutely gorgeous. By the way, if you hear doggy toenails, Jet's hanging out with me. He's been on his own all day, so I'm just kind of like letting him free range, if you will. So please excuse that. Okay, then this last shade is Little Mermaid. I think that's gonna be another fun one. I would love a shade like that in the summer. It is March and we are still getting snow and rain and bleh, so it just didn't seem fitting, but very beautiful shades. All right, now that I have a bunch of little like Tinkerbell Stardust all over my hands, we are gonna get into those 3 looks and then I will. All right, now that I have a bunch of like Tinkerbell Stardust all over my hands, it's now time to get into the 3 looks and I will give you my final thoughts at the end.
I'm kinda new with apologies. Holding back, I got history. Yeah, yeah. But the way you've been crossing the line, oh, it's something in me that says it's fine. Hoping you wouldn't change me. Got the same old thoughts, be my referee. I will be alright. Never cut it right, but somehow you make me change. Like I'm better off with you. Like I'm better off with you. Kinda used to these battlegrounds. Where you flee, you don't stick around, no. But the way you've been giving me time, oh, it's something in me that says it's fine. Hoping you wouldn't change me. Got the same old thoughts, be my referee. I will be alright, never cut it right, but somehow you make me change. Like I'm better off with you. Like I'm better off with you. Hoping you wouldn't change me. Got the same old thoughts, be my referee. never cut it right, but somehow you make me change. You make me wanna do better. I don't know why. You make me wanna do better. You make me wanna do better. I don't know why. I don't know why. Like I'm better off with you know that I'ma keep it cool. With you I feel like breaking rules. On the edge, looking out with no parachute. You know I'm dreaming about us two, playing around without a clue. On the edge, leaning out. With us it's all or nothing. Ooh, but guess I need more of you. With us it's all or nothing, but guess I need more of you. You say it during night, but in the morning you just leave. With us it's all or nothing. Ooh, but guess I need more of you. With us it's all or nothing, but guess I need more of you. You say it during night, but in the morning you just leave. Had to convince my friends this time. Think you're toxic to my mind, but I know they don't know what you're all about. The way you hold my body tight, staying up talking through the night. Yeah, I know they just don't. With us it's all or nothing. Ooh, but guess I need more of you.
All right, I hope you enjoyed the looks. Now, I do want to just give you an up-close look at how this wear time, like we can kind of have like a little wear time moment. So I did not use a glitter glue, a primer of any type this morning. Actually, I used the Tarte Shape Tape Ultra Creamy on my eyelids, and that is all that I had on. And I did my makeup at probably around 7:45 this morning, and it is 5:49 right now. So we've had a good amount of wear time and everything still looks great. I did itch my eye a little bit earlier today, so I don't see any fallout. I do see some mascara smudging. I've been having problems with that. I don't know if it's that I've just been trying to hydrate my skin so much. I got a mascara smudge, but no fallout. Okay, so I do have a little bit of creasing. Very minor. Honestly, I could probably just like tap my finger and kind of get this to lay out, but considering the day and how long it's been, that is not bad at all. This is the formula that I love from Nomad because I know it's going to last a really long time. The very slippy silicone-y vibe that some of the multi-chromes have not stayed super long on me. Like I've had one shade, I cannot remember what shade it was, but one shade creased on me like by the time I got to work, and that's just that formula. So I'm excited to see the formulas that are in here. Now, I do also want to say, when it comes to, I know we didn't swatch the mattes or talk about those a lot, they're great quality, as I'd mentioned. I feel like in this palette, though, they are all cool. These are all cool tones. I would say that the darker brown shade, oh gosh, am I gonna have to actually try to attempt German? At least I'm assuming that this is German. Neuschwanstein. And I am German, but wow, totally failed at that. Okay, so this is probably more of like a neutral, but it does look like it's definitely not warm. These all have a bit of a cooler undertone, like a beigey undertone, and obviously the gray and the black. I appreciate that the gray, though, is more of a neutral gray. It's not a blue-leaning gray. So I feel like if they had put, and these are all so close, honestly, like these three, I think you could have, personally, I would just take this one out because it's unnecessary. So I would have probably made this the lightest shade and then put another just slightly warmer. If you're gonna stick with the neutrals, then that's what I would have done. But that leads me into my next thing. Let me find that other palette. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So I wanted to talk about the Chamonix Après Ski. So this was the previous palette that the brand launched. I really love this color story, but I think I did mention that I don't know where it would have fit into this color scheme, but to have a palette that has 0 neutrals in it is just a little bit limiting, right? So I was like, oh, I would have liked to have seen like a neutral matte or a neutral shimmer, something where like I could have chosen to use some of these beautiful mattes and then put a neutral shimmer with it, or used some of the, you know, fun colorful shimmers and put a neutral matte. So initially I was like, okay, we've got some neutral mattes in here. But the only thing is from this palette, you are always going to get a colorful lid or a colorful wherever you put your shimmer with a neutral crease. There is no way to get a color into your crease or to have like a neutral shimmer and then just like pop a little bit of fun with a matte in. So it's definitely limiting, and it also means that things are going to remain a bit more separate. If you love a super blended look from shimmer into matte, you're not going to get that. Like there's just no way with this. So I would have liked to have seen maybe this shade replaced with some sort of colorful option in a mid-tone, just to have, again, just an option. And one shade, I think you could have replaced one of these pinks and done like a neutral, like, I mean, because this First Kiss shade is still pink enough that I'm going to consider it a pink. So that's the one thing. I understand the fairy tale, like, sweet, sugary vibes of this palette, so I know that that's not it, but when I think about like honest usability or ease of use, that's a bit limiting. So obviously, clearly you're gonna have to be into candy yum yum shades and be okay with just a neutral crease or have something else that you can pull out, right? I will also say, like, when I first opened this up and I sit it down, there is no look that immediately came to mind. The pink look is the one that I did first because I was like, oh, we've got a few pinks here, I can play with that. It'll pair with these like beigey neutrals, easy peasy. And then after that, I was like, okay, I need to think a little bit more about how I'm gonna use this, unless you're gonna stay in like the monochromes. And I honestly, I didn't shift out of that too much, really. I kind of used the pinks together, the gold and the green together, and then kind of stuck with these purples. And I think that's just with my vibe right now. If I'm going to wear color, it's not gonna be super contrasty colors. You know, I'm not probably going to pair Little Mermaid with Snow Queen, right? So like, it's just not gonna be my thing right now. And that's just my personal aesthetic right now. So I just found myself every single time like, oh, okay, what am I gonna pair together? So there's a little more thinking that goes into this palette. I will be honest, I don't think that if I had seen this as just a consumer, that I would have picked up this palette, just because it just isn't something that I would steer into. Now, I'm so glad that the brand sent it to me and I was able to play with it, because I have truly loved, and I mean loved, every look that I did. I just really adored every single one. I got compliments on every single one. So very fun to use. So sort of that, like, it's sort of like if you ever go into a clothing store and one of the associates picks out an outfit for you and it's like, this is not something I ever would have done. Or if you've ever shopped for a formal dress and, you know, someone's just like, hey, here you go. Like, you're forced to like break out of your little box a little bit. And that's been a lot of fun to do with this. So hopefully all of those rambles sort of make sense. It's sort of like an unexpected, fun experience, but one that I did have to think a little bit more about. Not an easy reach, right? Easy to use because of the quality, but not an easy reach as far as like, I just need something quick. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so if I were to like give this a grade, right? A++ for the packaging, A++ for the quality of the shades. Now, I did not use every shadow in here, but every single one I used, I had 0 problems with. And for the color story, for my personal aesthetic, I'm gonna give this like a B-, just again because of the ease of use and options that I like to see. Also, I feel like depth-wise, like tonal value, right? So like light to dark, most of these shimmers end up being on the same level, like, or lights to mediums, you know, like and granted, I didn't use Snow Queen. Maybe you can pack it on to get it as dark as it is here, but really the only dark shimmer you have is Magic Spell, and there just isn't enough nuance in this for me. And you have quite a bit of shimmers here, but I feel like they're all on the same value level. So like if we were to put this in grayscale, a lot of this I think would look the same, especially when you swatch these out and you see that some of these deeper shades really don't transfer like that on the eye. But 2 A+ and a B- isn't really bad, you know, that's pretty good. A lot of this is just personal preference as well. But as far as the quality goes, if you love the look of this, if you want that like fairy tale experience, you're gonna enjoy using the shadows inside. They are great quality. So I wanna thank the brand for sending this over. And again, you can use my code KEEPBEAUTYREAL if you do like this one. Also, I do think actually, I mean, this is the only problem about palettes that are big like this, because I do think that these two would pair really well if you were looking for some of those colorful mattes to throw in. Like you could definitely pull out some of what's in here and that would be great, but then you'd have these two out on your vanity. So that's a decent bit of shadow, but you know, they would be fun to pair. All right, lovelies. I'm sure that this video has already been long enough, but I would love to know your thoughts down below. Are you into like the fairy tale vibes? Do you also kind of like get those vibes of that like pop-up books? Do you remember pop-up books, or do you just like have no idea what I'm talking about? Anyway, this has been a fun video to do for you. It was fun creating these looks. I really did enjoy them. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. If I can be helpful in any way, you know that I would love to do so, and I will see you really soon.